cartoon. It's a guy with a camera, and his lens goes up, over, down. A guy, a caricature of Ron Paul, and Ron Paul's like, excuse me, they just look past him. And what the country needs, you will not fix the unemployment situation, in my humble opinion, without fixing the financial system and the banks. You can't have the banks have phony accounting. You can't be with the continued bailout. We gave Bank of America last year $200 billion in forgiveness and debt taken off their books. $200 billion. One bank, Bank of America, last year through Fannie and Freddie. Not a word about that. You'll hear the people on Fox News and Fox Business, Solyndra, $500 million. Somebody should be in jail, and they're right. Somebody should be in jail. But the last quarter, we gave away through Fannie and Freddie $20 billion. And it's been documented or been alleged in, for example, the Attorney General in Massachusetts, Coakley, who is alleging 5 banks committed fraud and mortgage fraud. Where did this stuff end up? Fannie and Freddie. Their SEC is suing former heads of Fannie and Freddie for fraud, where this stuff ended up in Fannie and Freddie. Why we're not prosecuting bankers for wanton fraud, I'll never know. And I think, well, I do know. I think it's because they're afraid if they start prosecuting these guys, they'll crash the system. According to William Black, who is a professor of economics and law and former banking regulator during the RTC crisis, he says this is 70 times bigger than the SNL crisis, 70 times bigger. And back then they had 10,000 indictments. They had more than 1,000 successful prosecutions, not of clerks, of financial elites, including a sitting governor of a state in Arkansas. And what do we have this time? Zero. We do have Obama on 60 Minutes with Steve Croft at the beginning of December saying, I think they did unethical things, but they didn't do anything illegal. Oh, really? They didn't do anything illegal? They packaged liar loans. They put them into a security. And they knew they were liar loans. They rated them at equal to a treasury when they were toxic. And we have an ongoing foreclosure crisis where they forged documents so they could go in and take the house. They didn't do anything illegal. Outrageous. And Steve Croft, who's supposed to be, the cutting edge of journalism, he doesn't know to say, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Well, at the very least, Croft could have said, with all deference to the president, well, what unethical thing do you think they did? But nothing. Just a free pass to say whatever you want to 12 million people, to 60 Minutes audiences. That's the reason why we have what's going on, is that, as you guys know, InfoWars, which I'm glad you guys are out there, is because we don't have a fair and impartial media. Thank goodness for the internet. I hope they don't shut it down.
I mean, it's well beyond a lack of fair and balanced coverage. It's the system propping up this illusion, whether it's in the economic realm, the voting realm. I mean, what is the real reason they're not interested in fixing the real problems, but just selling us on lies that things are getting better? I mean, you see it in your article today with the unemployment statistics, but it's systematic.
Well, the unemployment statistics is just is one of the many ways they go to academia. Academia says, oh, you're doing unemployment wrong. Really, you need to cut out this and this and this. You need to seasonally adjust that. And really, the unemployment rate is 8.5%. But if you did in unemployment the way the Bureau of Labor Statistics did it in 1994 and earlier, this is according to John Williams at shadowstats.com, the true unemployment rate, the way it was done in 94 or earlier, is 22.4%. Mm-hmm. That's unemployed, underemployed. And if you look at economists like John Williams, who sells his information, not just to, readers like me or just to John Q. Public, but he basically, his bread and butter, and his client list is secret, but it's hedge funds, big money people. Nobody would ever make a decision, a money decision based on information derived by the BLS, by GDP or by unemployment numbers, where we're heading. Nobody would ever, and they don't. Trust me, they do not. And, John Williams says we're doing nothing more than bottom bouncing, and the economy is in a severe downturn. And, that's the other thing, that these numbers, the unemployment, only 8.5%. That means 92.5% of people, 91.5% of people are working. Well, not true. And that doesn't even account the people that took a less job full time that took a 20% pay cut. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Bill Gross. Bill Gross, who is the head of PIMCO, and they have $1.3 trillion under management. And Bill Gross talks about, that there's what's happening in the financial markets and economy is like cancer. and it could basically, rearrange economic life as we know it. But he's referring to, some sort of meltdown. He closes his 2012 preview, and I gotta read this, just the way he said it. This is his last line in his 2012 preview, and this is a guy that manages $1.3 trillion of money. Financial markets and global economy are at great risk. This is his preview of 2012. And my questioning is, what does he say to his friends and family? Buy gold, stock up on water, bandages, medicine. I mean, that's bearish isn't even a word for it. It's doomsday. It's gloomy. And this is a guy with a lot of money under management. And if you take a look at Jim Rogers, who cavalierly said recently, just after the first of the year on CNBC, and I love the European edition of CNBC. It's much better than the American version. You're likely to learn a lot more on the European version. And Rogers, he was talking about how they're going to make us feel good in Europe, and they're going to, extend some more money. And they're actually loaning money. They're adding debt for the debt crisis. They're not really, writing any debt down. Nobody's taking any losses. And he says, but, this is going to be disastrous for all of us. And come, the end of 2012, fall of 2012, I'd be very worried. And he's not the only one making these dire predictions at the end of 2012. And forget the Mayan calendar. The math of the economy is not good at the end of 12 or the beginning of 13. Ray Dalio at Bridgewater Associates, a few months ago, this kind of got swept aside, he said that he thinks he's got $80 billion, $100 billion under management. This is a big money guy. And he thinks there'll be another collapse at the end of 12 or beginning of 13, just like Jim Rogers. And, he predicted the last collapse in 08, predicted right on the money. And this one will be far worse, according to people like Nassim Taleb, Peter Schiff, multiple people. And this is like a blue pill world of the Matrix. People are just, plugged in with something in the back of their head, watching American Idol and taping their favorite TV shows. It's unbelievable.
Well, what will the Iran war do if that kicks off, just economically speaking, when oil prices are driven up, above the threshold?
Well, I think they're telegraphing they're going to have war and it's going to be okay, and they don't want the price of oil to spike. And why I say that is because it just came out just recently, last few days, that Saudi Arabia, who wants the United States to drop a daisy cutter on Iran's head. And we just sold them $60 billion worth of F-15 fighter jets, right? Big sale of defense equipment. Actually offensive equipment. Could be defensive, but offensive, a fighter jet. And so, but they said that they're going to have other routes for their oil, so that it won't be cut off. And I'm thinking, boy, they got all these Yemeni Al-Qaeda fighters, south of, Saudi Arabia. Iran has had a lot of time to think about this. No, their Navy is no match for the U.S. Navy. But they're going to have asymmetrical warfare. And what's going to happen to insurance rates of tankers if they say any tanker we see, the United States may be able to get some ships through, but any ship we can put C4 under the hull. You take a speedboat with an RPG and fire it into the the cabin. Whatever we can do to slow this down. Could you imagine the insurance rates on tankers? If there is full blown, we're going to shut down all the traffic we can. Try to take whatever oil you can somewhere else. This is an enormous amount of oil, and it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be very secretive to where they take this pathway, to get it out through the Red Sea or, so they can go up through the Suez Canal. But that's going to be tough. I think the price of oil could be $8 or $9. Price of gas could be $8 or $9 a gallon. And in the 90s we could take this hit. In the 70s, we could take this hit. Now, we have just four banks with $235 trillion in derivatives. Do you think all those derivative contracts will be bilaterally netted and hedged out and settled perfectly if we go to war? Do you think all those contracts in Europe with the sovereign debt will do just hunky-dory dandy in the trillions of dollars? I say no. What happens if China jumps in? That's the other thing. It's not going to be just us against Iran. I think Russia jumps in. China has said on state television that they would come to Iran's assistance, even if it meant World War III. Yeah. Now, that wasn't an official position, but it came out on China's state-run television. I think China, that's a big problem.
Yeah, obviously World War III is a scenario that could play. I mean, Syria and all the other chessboard pieces.
Yeah. in Santorum was talking about we're going to degrade those systems, and I wanted David Gregory to say, well, whoa, hold on a minute. So you're willing to risk World War III? And, you know, the military generals, a lot of the generals and the admirals in the Navy, they think bad juju. They think this is a bad idea. And it is a bad idea because you unleash the dogs of war. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, really, you don't know the wild cards that are going to happen. It will not go according to plan. It will not go as, and I'm as American as can be. But if this thing gets out of hand and it doesn't go perfectly, and I don't see how it can, I think it could crash the world economy. And that's the black swan. That's a flock of black swans. That is the wild card of wild card, I've been calling it.
Well,
how long do you think the American economy and the European economy, with the gasoline here at $9 to $8 to the gallon if you get it, or 15 or 16 euros to the liter or to the gallon over in the European? How long do you think those economies will last with sky high gasoline and fuel prices?
Yeah. Well, in closing, Greg Hunter,
not very long.
Tomorrow is the New Hampshire primary vote. Do you think people should be watching for voter fraud? Are they trying to keep
Absolutely.
Ron Paul's name out of the headlines?
Get on it. You know, they're the Granite State. I'll tell you a very unusual statistics that I heard, and that is the best funded candidate up in New Hampshire does not always win. In fact, it's kind of a rare thing. They don't always win. There's been huge surprises in New Hampshire. And so, yes, I think you ought to watch about voter fraud. At least with this one, the people are voting for the candidate. It's a primary instead of, the caucus goers are voting for other people who are going to vote for the candidate. In this case, it's the direct vote by New Hampshire to the candidates, and we'll see how it goes.
Right. Well, Greg Hunter, we'll speak to you again soon, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us. And that is it for tonight's InfoWars Nightly News. Don't forget about our specials for PrisonPlanet.tv. You can sign up at a discount and support this broadcast. But if you're not sure, you can take a look, preview the PrisonPlanet.tv for free, see all the things we offer. Please check it out. We need your support to get the word off and save this republic. Thank you and good night.